Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to my channel, How You Figure. I'm Justin, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the just announced Hot Toys Anakin Skywalker from the Star Wars Ahsoka series on Disney+. Let's jump into it. So before we jump into talking about this Anakin Skywalker figure, if you haven't watched a video like this of mine, I just go over the announcement photos that Hot Toys releases, and we kind of go over them, and I kind of let you know what my thoughts are, and kind of let you know if I plan on pre-ordering the figure or not. And then that way you can make your own call on if you're going to pre-order it, or if it's a figure you're going to wait on or pick up day one. You know, it's up to you as a collector. But before we get into that, if you like this type of content, it would mean the world to me if you would consider subscribing. I think if you like videos like this, you will like it around here, and give this video a big thumbs up if you're enjoying it. So let's jump right into this and talk about this Anakin Skywalker from Star Wars Ahsoka. All right, so here we go. We have Anakin Skywalker, Clone Wars in parentheses. So if you didn't know, this is his look in the Clone Wars, and they're wanting you to know that. From the Disney Plus series Star Wars Ahsoka. But right here, just on this first photo alone, if we're just going based on the appearance in the show, I think this is really solid. I mean, isn't it? I mean, I think it's really solid. Again, we're going to talk about potentially down the line, like some of the, towards the end of the video, like a few of the problems I have with the figure. But in terms of likeness and in terms of head sculpt, I don't see how you can really complain about this. I think this is really solid. I think it is a beautiful sculpt because this looks exactly like he looks like in the show. And so your mileage is going to vary on, hey, if I already have that Clone Wars figure that they've released and I already have that one, do I need to upgrade to this one? Do I really want this one? I think it's going to depend on how, if you're wanting to have an Ahsoka display, and we talked about this with the Padawan Ahsoka character. Or is it something that you need? Is it something that you want to have as an Ahsoka display? Do you already have another Ahsoka that can work in that display? So again, every collector is different, and that's going to vary into your decision making here. But if we're just going to review this figure, so far so good on this head sculpt, man. That looks really strong. We're going to go to this next picture here, and you can kind of see all the different things it comes with. You know, you got that's a pretty good picture right there. I think that's how a lot of people might be displaying theirs, is like, you know, I've heard a lot of people say like it's the teacher version of Anakin. Again, we got the self-rolling eyeballs, the lightsaber deflecting effects. We're going to look more into that. I think that's a really cool feature, by the way. Obviously, the LED lightsaber powered by USB. You know, we got, you know, again, a lot of these figures are starting to come with these holograms. And yeah, I mean, you know, this is your pretty basic release right here. It's not a DX release. It's just your basic release. And we're going to keep going through here and look at these pictures. And we're going to kind of have to do this on a few of them. So again, right here so far, the sculpt's still looking really good. The hair's looking really good. The outfit, I mean, we've seen this outfit a bunch of times, but I think this looks really solid. I think the blues look really good. The reds look really good. Now we can just get right to this. I didn't know this picture was going to be up this soon, but here we go. The thing with this figure is this. It's very specific to that scene in the show. I mean, that's the only appearance he has, and there's some flashbacks and stuff, but it's very specific to that. So it's going to be difficult for me to kind of like, on one hand say, man, it's super accurate, and then the other, you know, there's two things can be true at the same time. I could think this looks really good, and it could also not be for me, and vice versa. This could be for me, but I'm like, I don't know, man, I don't really like the look of that character. But battle poses with this face, I think it does look a little weird with how, you know, if you're gonna have him in lightsaber poses and like battle poses, this kind of face, you know, and again, we see this a lot with figures that don't have multiple faceplate changes or you know, all this different stuff, or a separate sculpt. You can kind of run into this, and this is the issue that, you know, a lot of people have with not having rolling eyeballs, is like you're kind of just stuck with a default expression, a default face, and that is a concern of mine with this figure. Even though I think the sculpt is fantastic. I mean, I think it is fantastic. This is arguably, and if we're just talking about current Hayden Christensen, like if you see Hayden Christensen now, like in these shows, like his appearances in these shows, this is an extremely strong sculpt. And we're gonna go to the sculpt right here. This is phenomenal, guys, like in my opinion. I mean, I just think it's so good. The hair sculpt is really solid. You're getting an older version of Anakin. You're getting an older version of Hayden Christensen. This is a sculpt we haven't seen yet, so that's exciting. If you're a big Anakin fan, I think this is extremely exciting because you're getting a new version of him. And, you know, I've had the thought of like, man, how cool would it be to have just a progression of Anakin through the years? Like if we ever get episode 1, I was going to say Padawan, but episode 1 Pod Racer Anakin, man, that'd be so cool to have it from like his journey from Anakin all the way to Vader. And that'd be really cool to have that, especially if you're a huge Anakin fan. I know, again, Hot Toys releases Anakin over and over and over again, because not only is it an extremely popular character, but it sells, and they usually do a really good job with the figures. So you get it right here. Sculpt looks really good. That scar looks really good. That's just a really good sculpt, man. And with the rolling eyes, I mean, a lot of this stuff is all about the eyes, and they just nailed it with that. I see Hayden Christensen everywhere on every angle. This is a very strong sculpt the more I'm looking at it. Now we're starting to get into some pictures I haven't seen yet, so this is fun. Again, I think this looks good. Like this looks good. Like this is the kind of battle pose you probably want him in, you know? And this is, again, super specific to that Ahsoka series, but you know, I'm not going to have him pose like this if I decide to get the figure, but this doesn't look too bad to me. He's got the lightsaber. He's kind of like in a defensive posture. Kind of looks like he's about to give Ahsoka some orders. And, you know, we got some other pictures here. Again, this to me looks really, really good. I haven't seen this picture yet. This looks really, really good. I think that would be a cool display right there, because it's kind of like he's focused on what's going on. And if you remember his appearance in that show, it's a flashback thing. He's with Ahsoka, but they're also showing flashbacks of him during the Clone Wars and all this stuff. And so this looks very, you know, again, I mentioned it earlier, very teacher-esque. It's like a very teacher, like, you know, coming into his own as a leader, coming into his own as a Jedi Master to help this young Padawan. And this looks really good to that. That captures kind of that character for me. We're going to keep it rolling. Right there looks good. I mean, I have no problem with this. I think defensive posture is where it's going to be with this character when you're posing it. I think defensive posture is the best, because the face sculpt to me looks it is a specific look. It is a very specific look. But I think we've had other figures that have more of a default look. Like how many times do we get like just an angry face, or like a default face, or like an emotionless face? I'd rather have this all day over just emotionless. And so that's what I want to see. And we're going to get to these pictures. We're coming up on some pictures here that are really head sculpt heavy, and I really like that. So again, look at that. Again, I'm trying not to repeat myself, but so we're going to go to the next picture. Again, rolling eyeball functionality here. Separate rolling eyeballs, I think, is going to really be effective here with your display. I think this photo on the right looks really, really good. I really do. I think there's a few photos here that I get why people are maybe a little, not upset, but a little worried about the expression. But this right here looks really solid to me, especially if you're into photography. I think rolling eyeballs, I've been saying it, like for toy photography and for people that are really good at toy photography. And by the way, there's some brilliant photographers out there that do a great job with these figures. Seek them out. They're going to love this function. Right here, now we can see what it looks like with the young Padawan. By the way, I think this is going to help that young Padawan Ahsoka sell even better than it was going to sell now that we have this figure on our hands. But this, you know, right here is when it's defensive posture. It's like, you know, this is when you kind of start seeing the limitations with the head sculpt, with that expression. You're not going to be able to get every single pose that you probably want to get matching the emotion and all that. That's the one downfall of the interchangeable faceplates. But at the same time, this figure comes in at $265 retail, I think, before tax and shipping and all that. So the more stuff you add like that, the more expensive this figure gets. So I'm kind of glad there is this version of the character where collectors can kind of pick it up for that price of like $260 to $280. Right here is really cool. I wanted to show this picture. This is one of the pictures I saw, and this is a really, really cool picture here, because this kind of, and it says right here, and I'll zoom up so you can see, scenes inspired by Star Wars, the Clone Wars animated series. Again, that's what I'm talking about. Maybe you're a Clone Wars person. Maybe you're an Ahsoka person. Maybe you're both. You know, maybe you're an Anakin person. Maybe you just collect a bunch of Anakins. I think there's a lot of variety with this figure, and I do like the older head sculpt because it gives you a different Anakin we haven't seen yet. That this is a version of the character that they want to, you know, treat Ahsoka fans of like, hey, we want to make sure you get this version of Anakin. Like, this is a great version of Anakin. This is a character that's beloved. We want to give you as many versions of that character as you want. This is the one I wanted to talk about right here, is the deflections. I love that. I think that's a really, really cool effect. I think this is the coolest thing about this figure. And I want to see more of this in every figure we get with lightsabers, because I think it does add an element of like, again, and you can see it, this is defensive posture. This is defensive posture for Anakin here. And we get the sand base, you guys, which everybody loves that. We got the sand base here, but this is really cool. I do love those effects here because it can, without doing too much, just adding those to the lightsaber, it gives off a lot of story, a lot of personality, and a lot of action. So if you can put this in the right pose, I think this pose is actually pretty decent. And we got this one right here. Again, this is what I'm talking about. Just holding the lightsaber, just that sculpt, it kind of limits it a little bit. We'll go through these a little bit quicker here because I'm trying not to repeat myself so often. But right here, this is a really good look. This is a look that I could see a lot of people displaying because it is that teacher look. It is that, you know, hey, you know, he's about to tell Ahsoka something she needs to hear. It's that really specific sculpt. It's that really specific stance, and it just, you know, if you're a big fan of the Clone Wars, this is definitely something that you want to see more of. But again, I want to just talk about this one last time. The lightsaber deflecting effects, I love that, and I definitely see this becoming a staple in a lot of these Star Wars figures, and I would welcome that. And last but not least, we're going to take a look at the whole thing one more time. We get the separate rolling eyeballs. We get the lightsaber deflecting effects. We get, you know, you can see it all right there. You can see it all right there. And we're going to move this over a little bit so you can see this part of it too. You can just see that too with the base, the sand base. Again, your mileage is going to vary on this, but this is all you get with the figure. And I believe it retails right at $265. So let's go to the outro to hear my final thoughts on the figure. So overall, I think this is a really solid announcement from Hot Toys. I think that this is very specific if you're into the Star Wars Ahsoka series, and if you're into the Clone Wars. If you're a big Anakin fan, you're probably really excited about it as well. But for others, people that are just collecting Star Wars or maybe collecting other shows or feel they already have that other Clone Wars Anakin, I will say if you have that other Clone Wars Anakin and you really are focused on some other lines right now, or you're focused on some other figures, this is one I think you can probably, you know, really decide if you want it or not. If you really feel like you don't need this version of Anakin, I think you'll be fine with that other Clone Wars version. But if you're somebody that doesn't have that Clone Wars version, like I don't, this is definitely going to be a pre-order for me. I will be pre-ordering this, and once we get the official in-hand photos, I'll decide if I'm going to keep that pre-order or not. But as of right now, I like what I see enough to get the pre-order in, and I love that lightsaber deflection effect. I think that's the coolest part of the whole figure. I think the head sculpt is extremely strong for this scene in Star Wars Ahsoka. And so yeah, I think it's a really solid announcement release. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you plan on pre-ordering this or if you are excited about this figure. Let me know what some issues are that you have with it, maybe some things you love about it, and just I want to hear everybody's opinions in the comments below. Thank y'all so much for watching. It truly means a lot to me that you watched this video and you got to this part of the video. Please give this video a thumbs up on your way out and consider subscribing if you enjoyed the video so you can watch more content from this channel. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.